Hey everyone, welcome to Learn Commercial. Thanks so much for joining us here today. My name is Robert Creamer. I'm going to take you through the Learn Commercial. What is commercial real estate? It's like the intro module, and then we have the other education, which goes into detail about what we're talking about today. So it's going to be pretty exciting. So let's, want to be respectful of y'all time because the modules is really where most of the education, and then the mastermind and live training are really where it's at. This is just kind of a overview intro. Some of you may find value here, but it really just an intro so you can get jump started into the module. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick. Let's go. Expectations. All right. So we did this live before, but be present while you're going through this. Just be here while we're going through it so you can write notes and any questions that you may have that we can help with later on. So just be present, pay attention, just rock through this real quick. We'll make it fast, short and sweet. But if you do have questions, email us, go on the Facebook community page, type out a question, concern, comment. That's what it's there for, right? And then of course, get into action. You're gonna hear that come across a lot in a lot of different classes because it's so important and so many people do not get into action. So, all right, so set expectations. There's gonna be a lot of information throughout this course. Follow up with your trainers, your mentors, and have fun. I mean, commercial real estate is a fantastic industry. I'm a lifer. I love being in this industry. Even got t-shirts, they got commercial. I love it. All right. So what is commercial real estate, right? I used to go to a networking event, and what I used to tell people is I needed the shortest intro so I could get into what I wanted to talk about for the day. And so the shortest intro I came up with was anything real estate related, not to do with residential. And that covers a lot of ground, right? All right. So when you get started, a lot of people think you just kind of take off like a hockey stick and they start spending money on software and tools and systems and cards and websites, and they expense themselves to death. Don't do that, right? We need to get a game plan in place so you're leading with revenue and not going to be out of the business before you have a chance to get started, right? So survive, then thrive is kind of what we want here. We want you to be surviving and then moving towards thriving. It's going to take some time though. This isn't a hockey stick, right? That's why I said, don't just jump in, have a financial runway. What we usually try and tell people is we want to see a 6 to 12 month financial runway because now I've done a deal in 14 days, but it's very rare. We've done deals that have taken 18 months. And what happens if that deal falls apart, right? You get zero income. We're 100% commission. So just be careful, be prepared, and know what you can and cannot do. All right. So one of the easiest ways to jump into this is shadow a commercial broker, right? That's going to give you amazing insight on what their day looks like, how they're communicating with their clients, how they're finding property, searching property, and then evaluating the pros and cons on why it may or may not work, depending on what their clients' needs are, right? Great way to do it. Same with investors. If you're working with investors and they're good friends of yours, or you become good friends, sit down with them, have them show you how they evaluate their transaction. I mean, there's getting into the deal. There is no better way to learn. That's why we're learning with live deal training, because there is no better way than to say, let's walk it through step by step on how it goes. So I'm really excited about that. All right. The next thing, get or find a mentor or a coach, a trainer or an investment group, right? We all need to have these people. We have to have a commercial peer group, mentor, coach. I had a mentor and a coach. Now I'm becoming a trainer, right? Now in real estate, when we go through this, there's brokering of deals. You're either brokering commercial or residential. That can be a purchase, sale, or lease, or you're investing, and you're either investing in commercial real estate or in residential real estate, right? That's just what it is. Now in commercial real estate, unlike residential, where residential, you may have a duplex, a tri, a quadplex, or a single family home, maybe a mobile home. That's really the only genre you stay in. Whereas commercial real estate, there's a ton of asset classes. So just because you say I'm a commercial realtor doesn't mean you can or should do all of these things, right? Most people say the riches is in the niches. So figure out which asset class you like. Now, I've always been of the mindset where I didn't know what I liked. And so I wanted to educate, learn, and try at least one transaction or participate in one transaction of as many of these as I could, because then it gave me a better insight on, okay, I actually don't like office because the transaction takes longer, or I don't like the contracts, or I don't like dealing with the management company, or whatever it is, right? It doesn't really matter, but I didn't know what I didn't know. So now I lean into investment sales. That's really my personal focus and what I actually love to do the most. After that, it's going to be probably tenant representation, because you're helping a new company come into play and find a new location and open. That's always pretty exciting. But let's go through some of these. Office, industrial, retail, multifamily, land development, hospitality, your hotels, medical, which covers a lot of ground as well, storage facilities, mobile home parks, and mobile home parks are hot right now. Stadiums, gas stations, C-stores, marinas, and really covering almost anything not to do with houses again. Now the stadiums, they're not doing so well right now during this COVID period. If y'all are wondering what the month is, we're in July in 2020. Lots of fun happening right now. We're all gonna look back one day and say it was just a year. All right, asset classes. So I just added some pictures to give a little more visual clarity. Obviously your office can cover some ground as well. It can be a standalone single office. It can be a tower like this where you could have one tenant or 50 tenants. It could be a strip center, which has an office on top of like a mixed use development, right? There can be multi different variations of office. Then you have industrial. And again, industrial can be a flex space. It can be a true industrial, like in that picture right there, where we have like a 24 to 32 foot clear height. We have columns holding it up. You got a flat roof on top, wide open space, lots of garage type doors, grade level or dock high. That's your industrial. Flex space is a combo of office and industrial space. And as of right now in 2020, this is probably one of the hottest asset classes, industrial and flex. Then we have retail, which goes the opposite direction. Retail is going to be shifted forever after this COVID and the ever-changing marketplace that we're in today, right? So everything is moving more in the direction of e-commerce and safety, and the e-commerce companies right now are booming, and that's why we need a lot more industrial space, like that last mile industrial, which we go into in our class in the modules. But retail, obviously, again, it can be the same thing. You could have a Starbucks standalone, that's retail. You can have a strip center. You can have a mall. Those are all still retail. Multifamily, obviously, anything 5 units or bigger could be considered multifamily. 5 units to 1,000, it's all multifamily. Class C, B, A, you name it. Land development kind of speaks for itself, right? Any land which is going to be developed for either commercial or residential. If it's big enough, I'd probably say 10 acres or more, it usually gets compartmentalized with commercial or a farm and ranch type of deal. If it's smaller than that for a residential house, obviously we don't do it, but anything on a major public artery or a street that is going to be zone commercial, we probably take care of it. Hospitality is your hotel industry, which is hurting really bad right now. Medical, again, that covers your hospitals, your pediatricians, pharmacists, anything like that, anything medical related. Then you have your storage facilities, which is another hot commodity right now. You have your mobile home parks, and then back to storage facilities, and those vary too, because on storage facilities we have the older style, no HVAC, no AC, they're all outdoors. You don't drive in anywhere. There's no elevators. They're low ceilings. They're just cheaply built industrial style, metal sided spaces just to store stuff. The problem with that is they get dust. You can't put anything in there that can't get up to 110, 15, 20 degrees probably, which is a problem. So the newer versions, we have a lot more enclosed HVAC'd industrial style elevators to move your stuff up and down. You're actually putting all of your stuff indoors. And then of course you have the combo of some outdoor, some indoor, and then you have some indoor, but it's just not HVAC, but it protects it better from the elements. So they have progressed and they've gotten better and better, and the cap rates have been suppressed dramatically, meaning these price points for storage facilities have gone up dramatically. Got mobile home parks, same thing. These keep getting better and better. It's a hot commodity right now. You got gas stations, stadiums, C-stores like 7-Elevens like we're all used to. Then you have marinas. That's another one. I have sold 2 marinas. The fun You learn a lot about the business when you start selling. You realize why people got into it, why they're getting out of it, and what the opportunity is. This is how you learn how to invest, right? You just help people broker deals, and you learn. All right. So on the brokerage activity, the things we work on, tenant representation, to where if you had a coffee shop or a pizza shop and you said, hey, Robert, I need to go find a space in Dallas, Texas, in a great location, great neighborhood, lots to drive by. I say, great, I'm going to help you as the tenant. I will broker the deal. I'm going to go find the space, help you view the space, tour the space, set up what you need in the space, write all the offers, LOIs, contracts. That is tenant representation. Now, landlord representation is the opposite side, right? I have the retail center. I'm helping blast out marketing information. I'm taking inbound calls. You call me saying I need space for my coffee shop. Then I communicate with you. We go tour the space. I help the landlord draft the lease in order to serve his needs and make sure we have a win-win or we try and have a win-win for the landlord and the tenant. That's landlord representation. Now, acquisition is just, I'm working with someone on the buy side. It doesn't need to be an investment, usually an owner occupied opportunity, or at least they're going to owner occupy a portion of the property and then lease out the rest. And disposition is the opposite. I'm helping someone sell their asset as opposed to buy it. Then you have your investment sales that can cover all asset classes. And what you're doing there is you're buying a set of cash flows, and the medium is, it just happens to be real estate. That's really what you're doing. So you're buying a set of cash flows, and we'll talk about that in the investment sales class, but it's good stuff. I love investment sales. 1031 exchange is when you are selling an asset, and in order to defer capital gains taxes, you put that money back into another like kind asset. We'll talk about that as well in one of our investment classes. This is just the overview. Okay, we're going to talk quickly about investor activities. So I put multifamily up there. Multifamily is pretty straightforward though, as far as acquisition goes. But when we're looking at retail, office, industrial, flex, anything with tenants that aren't for residents, you have different structures. So you have your gross lease or a triple net lease. Gross lease means you pay one payment, it covers everything. The triple net lease means you have a base rate, then you have your triple net charges. Your triple net charges are a pass-through from the owner to the tenant of really anything that it costs to operate the facility. If they want to put anything in there, they can. Most of the time, it's going to cover taxes, insurance, and common area maintenance. Your absolute net lease, what means, let's see, Walgreens, some CVS's, some banks, some Sonics. Some companies decide to take on an absolute net lease where their rental payment may be slightly less in the area, but they take care of everything. If the roof collapses, the tenant takes care of everything. If someone drives into the side of the building, the tenant takes care of it. That is an absolute net lease. It is truly mailbox money that the owner gets to keep. Usually you're selling at a premium because it's no risk or worry. There's risk, but there's less risk and less worry to the ownership in an absolute net lease. So you got a ground lease. Again, we see some banks. If you have a fantastic opportunity to own a piece of dirt in a CBD, a downtown area of a city, or on the coast, and you don't want to give it up, you can lease the dirt to an end person. That person, let's say I wanted to open up a Chase Bank, right? I'm going to come to you and say, I love this location. I need this location. You say, great. Well, we're going to do a ground lease. So this is the terms. And then Chase comes in, agrees to the lease terms, and then builds their building on your land, leases it for, let's say it's a 50-year lease. If they decide to leave, they can't take the building with them. They have no sellable asset. It reverts back to the owner, which is a pretty unique deal. And we go into that later in another class. Development, obviously development, you're developing a piece of dirt. That can be residential or commercial. Usually if we're talking about development though, it's gonna be on the commercial or a subdivision for development side. Now repositioning, that's when you're rezoning or changing the zoning of a piece of property. We see that happening a lot right now in smaller or even bigger cities where everything around it has been knocked down, altered, changed, already redeveloped. And this is a perfect opportunity where we're going to take this old grungy warehouse and turn it into an amazing office concept, or retail on the bottom and office on top, or a mixed use concept. a perfect example we might all be able to relate to is the future of malls, right? All these malls aren't going to be able to make it. What do you do with that space? Do you knock it down and restart? Or do you figure out some creative way, since it's got good bones, can we do something with that space to make it work for the community? And then you got flipping and wholesaling. You know, flipping is obviously where you're buying a property, you're forcing the appreciation, you're refinancing, cashing out, and selling it. Or you're wholesaling, where you're actually just trading paper. Like if I found a property for $50,000, I knew it was worth probably 100. Then I went and sold it to someone else for $70,000 at closing. I never closed. I just basically traded paper. Again, we can go into more detail about that, but for this, that's good enough. Yeah, so where do I start? I mean, there's so many different avenues and options in commercial real estate. Sometimes it can be challenging to pick what to start with. I mean, one of the classes I talk about, what's the fastest way to start making money in commercial real estate? And that's what I leaned into at first because I didn't know any better, but it was tenant representation. That is one of the fastest ways to make money, and you get to learn the business really well. And when you do tenant representation well, you slowly get a bigger clientele, then you look at people who are not wanting to lease anymore, but wanting to purchase. So you actually merge into purchasing along with your tenant rep business, unless you're at one of the larger broker firms. And sometimes they kind of pigeonhole you. So sometimes at the bigger firms, they basically say, no, you are an office seller. You do not do any leasing, or vice versa. So just be wary of that. You know, how can my life be improved with commercial real estate? I will say that the highest net worth jumps for most people is in commercial real estate. So they get away from single family acquisitions and they move into commercial. It's like, you know, if you're buying single family, it's fantastic. I mean, I encourage anyone, just get started, right? Don't have analysis paralysis, right? Just at least go buy something and get started in this game. Let's just call it a game because it's fun. Now, if your plan though is to have 10 or 15 or 20 houses, why wouldn't you just try and figure out an 8, a 10, a 20, a 30, a 40 plex? It's not much more work if it's less work, and it's all in one location, right? So if you have 10 or 15 houses, they're all spread out, your management costs go out the roof. We can go into that, but look into commercial real estate. There's massive opportunity to increase your net worth. All right, so this is my buddy's property. And the reason I wanted to show this, I wanted to show you what can happen if you invest in commercial real estate properly. This doesn't happen every time, but this is a big win, and this happens all the time. So let's go through some of the numbers. As you can see in this diagram, I outlined in red, that's the property. The bottom right side is what my client initially owned, okay? He bought that, forgot the price on that particular parcel, but when he bought that, used it, he used to be in the car business. Then he bought the remaining dirt on the side, and all in for the dirt and his part was $2.3 million. Then one of the buildings up top, he built. That was an extra $500,000. So he's into the property, $2.8 million, right? And then he found a tenant. The tenant came in, the name is AAA Auction. They are a car auction company. They came in and signed a 7-year lease. Then he came to me and said, hey, we want to sell it, but we can't sell it too soon because it's been less than a year. And if we sell it, we'll have to pay massive taxes. We got to wait at least a year. So let's dive into those numbers. All right. So 10 acres with an initial 7,500 square foot shop on it. That was that bottom right section. Purchased for 2.3 million with the dirt and added $500,000 improvements. That other building on the top. Signed a 7-year lease at $37,500 per month, which included a base rent of $29,500. And this was a triple net lease. We were marketing this as a 7% cap rate, and the cap rate is just a market snapshot where if you invested 100%, that would be your return. And we do talk about that later. The tenant came in and spent $750,000 on additional parking because they're an auction company. You don't want to park in dirt. There's a few of these around the country, but they spent $750,000 on additional parking, and they added that other building on the front. Now we sold this for $5 million in just over a year of them having this property. So if you do the quick math, the owner netted $2 million, almost doubled their money. And the broker, myself, we made $150. That's pretty awesome. That's what can happen if you buy commercial real estate right. Now, of course, there's always risk, but when it works out nicely, it can work out real nice. And I'm going to go over another slide here, and it's not to brag, it's just to show you this is a real deal that we got done. Right, there's the check when I was at KW, $149,920. Now this other one, again, I just wanted to show this because being a commercial realtor, I look to the residential realtors as my partner. And so we make it a point to go talk to the residential realtors about how can we help and be your commercial arm of your business, right? And we do that a lot on purpose. Okay, and the reason we're sharing this screen or this next picture is because we wanted to show you what can happen if you treat the residential agents as your partners, right? And that's what I've made a point of doing since I got started 15 years ago, is I saw the residential realtors as my partner where they shouldn't or couldn't conduct commercial real estate. I wanted to be their arm of their group, their business, their company. How can I help? How can I help your clients? You maintain the relationship. Let me just take it from here. And I can't guarantee success, but we will definitely increase the probability of getting this closed and everybody getting paid, and it's a win for everybody. So that's the reason I share this with you. And here we are. So this is the deal. We got referred. Took us 18 months to get the deal done. It fell apart a couple times, but I blacked out their group name because it's the right thing to do. And that referral check was $81,000. That could be life-changing for a lot of people. $81,000 in one check, right? That's amazing. So don't discount residential agents. Too many people do that. They are a fantastic source of leads. And that is the reason I've always attached myself to a residential facing company, right? All right, so what is the path to success then? Educate, lead generate, follow up, execute, invest, repeat. Educate, lead gen, follow up, execute, invest, and repeat. And stay on course with the modules, join the Facebook community, right? Keep communicating with your peers, sharing off-market deals, get one-on-one coaching, get into action. Thanks, guys. Hope you all enjoyed that. That was a quick snapshot, just a quick run through. Hope you enjoy the rest of the modules where we actually dive into tenant rep, landlord rep, investment sales, acquisitions, dispositions. We're going to have guest speakers talking about lending environment, et cetera, et cetera. When we do our live transactions, if I didn't do the transaction, we're going to bring the broker in who did. He's going to show you how they got the client, where you got the client, why it's a good deal, pros, cons, good, bad, ugly, all the details, right? This is how we walk a deal. Hope you're excited. I'm really excited to have you all on board. Thank you all so much for being on this journey with us. If you have any questions, email us at info@learncommercial.com, and we'll see you in the live training.